Britain in the 1980s promised reinvention. New factories, new technology, new hope after a decade of strikes and shame. Buyers were told these cars would restore British pride on the road. Some did, but others carried a curse nobody could quite explain: rust that ate through brand new metal, engines that failed within months, launches so disastrous they haunted entire companies. These weren't simply bad cars. They were warnings, symptoms of an industry fighting for survival. 10 of them stand out as the decade's most notorious, and number 1 didn't just disappoint its owners, it nearly destroyed the man who built it. Number 10. Morris Ital. When Morris unveiled the Ital in 1980, it wasn't really a new car at all. Underneath a mildly reworked body sat the aging Marina, a platform already showing its age. Buyers noticed. The styling, handled by Italian design house Ital Design, was meant to modernize the range. Instead, critics called it a facelift too timid to matter. The real trouble sat beneath the surface. Rust protection remained poor, and early cars corroded at an alarming rate for something marketed as new. Reliability was inconsistent, and the aging underpinnings meant the Ital drove much like the car it replaced because, mechanically, it largely was. Sales limped rather than surged. Would you have paid new car money for old car engineering? Most buyers wouldn't, and the Ital became a quiet embarrassment inside British Leyland, discontinued by 1984. But a stranger reputation was forming elsewhere, a car nobody expected to end up on this list at all. Number 9. Austin Ambassador. The Austin Ambassador arrived in 1982 promising to finally fix what the unloved princess had got wrong. A proper hatchback, sharper styling, fresh interior on paper, redemption. But the Ambassador inherited more from its predecessor than anyone wanted, including the princess's already battered reputation. Buyers who remembered years of complaints simply stayed away. Underneath, Hydrogas suspension still delivered a genuinely comfortable ride, and the engineering wasn't the problem. Perception was. Austin Rover had spent just enough to update the car, but not enough to convince a skeptical public it was worth trusting again. Production numbers stayed modest, and by 1984, barely 2 years after launch, the Ambassador quietly vanished. It became a case study in how badly a company's reputation could poison even a genuinely competent car. Could any facelift have saved it? Probably not. Because the next entry didn't inherit a bad reputation. It built one entirely from scratch. Number 8. Reliant Scimitar SS1. Reliant saw an opportunity in 1984. The MGB was gone, the Triumph TR7 was gone, and Britain suddenly had no affordable open-top sports car left. The Scimitar SS1 was meant to fill that gap completely. It had genuine promise: a rust-free glass fiber body, sharp handling, and underpinnings borrowed from trusted parts bins. Then buyers actually looked at it. Michelotti's styling, angular and unconventional, was widely mocked, and panel fit across the composite body proved frustratingly inconsistent. The underpowered early engines didn't help matters either. A turbocharged version eventually arrived to address the performance complaints, but by then the damage to the car's image was already done. Would buyers forgive ugly styling for genuine ability? Not enough of them did. The SS1 never became the MGB successor Reliant had hoped for. And the next car on this list wouldn't just struggle with looks, its problems were wired directly into the dashboard. Number 7. Austin Metro. Launched in 1980, the Metro carried enormous weight on its small shoulders. It was British Leyland's last real chance to prove it could still build a competent super mini, and early sales suggested it might just work. But cracks appeared quickly. Carburetor problems plagued early cars, causing rough running and frustrating cold starts that dealerships struggled to resolve consistently. Electrical gremlins added further irritation, the kind of small, persistent faults that eroded owner confidence one visit at a time. None of these problems were catastrophic individually. Together, they chipped away at what should have been a genuine success story. The Metro still sold respectably, propping up Austin Rover through some of its darkest years. But it never escaped a nagging sense that BL had rushed it to market before quality control had caught up. Was that BL's fault, or simply the era's? Either way, the next car took reliability problems somewhere far more dangerous onto the motorway. Number 6. Rover 200 ST3. By 1984, Rover badly needed the 200 series to work. Built on Honda-derived underpinnings, it promised Japanese-influenced reliability wrapped in British badging, a genuinely appealing pitch to nervous buyers. Early cars, though, told a different story. Assembly quality varied noticeably between examples, undermining the very reputation Rover was trying to build. Rust protection, despite improvements elsewhere in the range, remained inconsistent on certain panels, disappointing buyers who'd been promised a clean break from BL's past failures. The badge engineering itself invited criticism too, with skeptics questioning how British a Honda-based Rover truly was. Sales were respectable rather than spectacular, propping up Rover's image without fully repairing it. The bigger tragedy was timing, arriving just as buyers were finally ready to trust British engineering again. Could Rover afford another stumble? Barely. And the next entry proved that even genuinely popular cars could develop reputations that outlived their production run entirely. Number 5. Austin Maestro. Few cars entered the 1980s with higher expectations than the Maestro. Launched in 1983, it promised to finally return Austin Rover to profitability after years of decline. Then the problems started surfacing almost immediately. The rushed 1.6-liter R-Series engine, hastily adapted from an older unit, suffered hot starting failures and premature crankshaft wear before a proper replacement finally arrived a year later. The dashboard fared even worse, badly fitted, prone to rattling, and mocked by reviewers as flimsy. Electronic ignition problems added further embarrassment for a car marketed as genuinely modern. Word spread fast. The Maestro is a crap car became the popular verdict, regardless of how the underlying engineering actually improved over time. By the time reliability caught up, public opinion had already moved on. Would a 5-year head start have saved it? Quite possibly. But the next car's downfall wasn't about being late, it was about a badge nobody quite believed in anymore. Number 4. Talbot Solara. The Talbot Solara arrived in 1980 wearing a badge that barely meant anything to British buyers. Built at Brighton on Chrysler-derived underpinnings, it inherited engineering respected on the continent but struggled desperately for identity at home. The Talbot name, revived after Chrysler's European operations were sold to Peugeot, confused showroom customers who'd never heard of it and didn't trust it. Underneath the confusion sat a genuinely reasonable saloon, spacious, sensible, adequately engineered. None of that mattered. Sales collapsed as buyers gravitated toward familiar names like Ford and Vauxhall instead. Talbot's British ownership and Coventry area production couldn't rescue a name that felt foreign and forgettable simultaneously. By the mid-1980s, Talbot as a passenger car brand in Britain was effectively finished. It's a rare kind of curse, not mechanical failure, but complete commercial invisibility. The next car, though, wore a badge everyone recognized. That recognition became its own kind of problem. Number 3. Triumph TR7. By 1980, the Triumph TR7 was already carrying years of damage into the new decade. Built initially at the strike-plagued Speak factory, early cars suffered notoriously poor panel fit, with doors that reportedly never quite matched their apertures. Production shifted to Canlay, then finally to Solihull, each move promising the quality fix that never fully arrived. The wedge-shaped styling divided opinion sharply, and persistent oil leaks and rust problems compounded the sports car's growing reputation for unreliability. Motoring press across Europe reported cooling issues so severe that warning lights became a familiar companion for owners. By October 1981, with British Leyland Solihull plant closing entirely, TR7 production ended for good. What should have been Britain's answer to affordable sports motoring became, instead, a cautionary tale about industrial strife destroying good intentions. Was the car's design really the problem, or was it something Triumph's own factories inflicted upon it? The next entry asked a similarly uncomfortable question about a far more expensive machine. Number 2. Jaguar XJS. Jaguar's XJS should have been untouchable, a Grand Tourer wearing one of Britain's most respected badges, powered by a smooth V12 engine built for effortless performance. Instead, early 1980s examples became infamous for something far less glamorous: chronic unreliability that embarrassed a marque built on prestige. Electrical faults were common, fuel consumption from the thirsty V12 alarmed owners during a decade of rising petrol prices, and build quality inconsistencies undermined the car's luxury credentials at every turn. Sales stumbled badly, and rumors periodically circulated that Jaguar might discontinue the model entirely. Would buyers forgive occasional brilliance for constant frustration? Fewer and fewer did as the decade wore on. It took a determined quality overhaul under new leadership before the XJS finally earned the reputation it should have had from launch. By then, though, the damage to Jaguar's wider image had already spread, and one final British car was about to collapse even more spectacularly, taking its creator down with it. Number 1. Delorean DMC-12. No car on this list collapsed quite like the Delorean. Built at a purpose-constructed factory in Dunmurry, near Belfast, funded heavily by the British government eager to create jobs during the Troubles, the DMC-12 arrived in 1981 wrapped in stainless steel and enormous expectation. Its gull-wing doors and futuristic styling promised something genuinely exceptional. Then reality intervened. An inexperienced workforce struggled with unfamiliar assembly techniques, producing early cars riddled with quality faults that required extensive rework before delivery. Performance disappointed against the car's exotic looks, and its steep price alienated exactly the buyers it needed most. By February 1982, the company entered receivership. Production halted months later, taking roughly 2,500 jobs with it. Then came the final blow: John DeLorean's arrest in a drug trafficking sting that October, later resulting in acquittal, but by then irreversible reputational ruin. A car built on hope became, instead, British motoring's most spectacular cautionary tale. Was any car ever more aptly named cursed? 10 cars, 10 different curses: rust, electronics, botched launches, factories crippled by strikes, and one collapse that ended in scandal. Together they tell the real story of Britain's motor industry during the 1980s, an industry capable of genuine brilliance, constantly undermined by its own circumstances. Some of these cars deserved better than they got. Others earned every bit of their reputation. Either way, they shaped how an entire generation viewed British engineering. Which one surprised you most? Let us know in the comments below. And stay close to Britain Rewind, because Britain's motoring history still has plenty of forgotten stories left to tell.